Welcome to Delta Renaissance. I'm your host, Sade Turnipseed, and on today's show, I have a repeat visitor. This is been here about as many times as I have. No, I'm just kidding. No, but she's a really, really good friend, and she's one of the true movers and shakers in this community, so we always have a lot to talk about. And this time she's coming with a whole new, brand new topic of discussion, because this is one of those phenomenal things that she's so famous for, and that's coming up with cultural concepts that are really going to make an impact in the Delta. And so for this one, it's called the Heritage Village. And ladies and gentlemen, could you please welcome Helen Sims.
Thank you,
Helen Sims.
Thank you. It's good to be here once again.
All the way from Belzoni, Mississippi.
Absolutely. We're here today, excited to be talking with you about Heritage Village, which is somewhat of a new concept of things that we discussed. And a couple of years ago, a young lady by the name of Sade Turnipseed, when we was looking to name Heritage Village, we had several.
Pop my collar?
Pop your collar, girlfriend. You deserve it. We was looking for something that would fit what we were trying to do, and that's represent holistically the culture and heritage of the Mississippi Delta, and especially our little corner right there as we was chipping out our little place in culture, heritage, history.
I remember the moment.
You remember the moment?
I do.
And the name come up, Heritage Village, which would holistically reflect what we were trying to do at that time. So we named it Heritage Village. And today we want to talk about some other things that Heritage Village consists of.
Yeah, because we are actually moving on with
the project. Absolutely.
And it's called the Heritage Village Historical Site.
Absolutely.
So, paint the picture.
Heritage Village Historical Site will consist of, when it's 100% complete, and now we are in stage 2 of putting historical sites within a site, which we are moving at this time, turn of the century, authentic shotgun shacks to Heritage Village.
They were homes.
They were homes, absolutely. And it reflects the lifestyle in the way a people lived in a place called Mississippi and the Mississippi Delta. And to us, it was our home. And it was a step above where many of us had come from, the cotton fields and the shacks that are what I could say. You could look outside actually in some of the shacks and the conditions that we lived in, from sharecropper, from slave to the sharecropper era. And then the turn of the century, moving to different places, maybe to the smaller cities away from the cotton field, into what was called and was known at that time as a shotgun shack. And Sade, the reason many people say, in the history behind the name, it's because that you could stand in one door, which is the front door, and look out of the back door. And if you had a shotgun and you would shoot at the front door, the bullet would actually go out the back door. So it's named Shotgun Shacks, but as you have so eloquently put it, it was home to thousands of African Americans at that time.
You know, and you know me, and I know you, and we know each other.
Absolutely.
It's so important to put the image, you know, that
Absolutely.
you want to be understood and or respected. And so that's why I emphasize home as opposed to shack.
Absolutely.
Because it was a place where we lived. And sharecroppers and farmers and those who struggled and tried so hard. So to not denigrate their legacy, you
Absolutely.
know what I mean? But to
Absolutely.
go ahead and honor that they were doing the best they could.
The best they
with
could.
what they had.
And we want to, on that note, we want to highlight the elevation of the African American plight, moving from the slave to the sharecropper, and then for so many, many years, and even now, Sade, in the 21st century, we have people who are still living in what they call shotgun houses, which is closely related to what you were saying in the shotgun homes, but so named Shotgun Shack because of the era we was in and how we were looked at.
And because of the conditions, they were horrible.
Absolutely.
They were horrible. That we cannot get away from, and we do have to acknowledge and never, ever, 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 ever be ashamed.
Where?
But it was a shack. I mean, it was broke down, the dilapidated structure,
that
we made it home.
Oh,
And there was so much love in there.
It was.
So much good food in there.
Oh, I know.
You know, you know, and we had good times in spite of it all.
Oh, yes.
We made it.
And we made it work, Sade. Out at Heritage Village.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of heartwarming and touching for you to put it that way. Because one of those turn of the century shotgun shacks that's authentic to our cultural heritage is one that I actually was raised in until I was 5 years old. So we was able to save that and have it restored to be part of Heritage Village.
Is this going to actually be the home that you grew up in?
One of the ones.
It's going to be in there.
It will be part of Heritage
Village.
Village.
That'll be the one that we'll work on for the
Focus
National
our,
Registry.
Absolutely, because that's where I come from. That's my heritage, personally.
We're doing that one.
All right.
That's the one we're writing up.
We're going to write up that one. And I'm going to be loving on it because it's telling a story about my life, where I come from and how we have evolved into, we no longer have a one-room house with 6 people or 7 people living in it. But now we have a bedroom at least for the girls and one at least for the boys. And in many homes, we have a bedroom for each one of them. So we have come a long ways, but we have a ways to go. But the preservation aspect, Sade, is what we're talking about today. Preserving a way of life that we are not ashamed of.
Right.
It's only a credit to who we are and how far we've come. And that we are survivors, and we have survived against great odds, and we are still here, and we are still saying, yes, we can. And that shotgun shack, along with Heritage Village, and a number of shotgun shacks will represent, one of them will represent Paul Wine Jones here. One of them will represent Bill Abels, and these are all bluesmen. One of them would represent heritage itself, the cultural heritage of African Americans, which would be called the Heritage Shack. And then we have Bill Abels as well, Denise LaSalle. And it's 3 other shacks that's not mentioned in this row, and that's one for Reverend George Lee, which he was killed running into one of those. That's how he lost his life as a result of all the other things that happened to him. The last thing that he, I believe, really saw before he died was a shotgun shack because his car was enlarged in one.
So we're going to talk a lot more about him in just a second.
And then
that other shotgun house is for
Pinetop Perkins.
So
yes.
let's take a break and come back and really get more deeply into why these specific people who will be a part of the inaugural village, because I know you're going to build it out. I know Helen Sims, y'all.
Absolutely.
She's going to build this thing out. It's
Absolutely.
Gonna be a village for real.
All right.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
So anyway, we'll take a break and we're going to be right back. Okay, so that's 8 minutes long. All right.
Your mic is under
Oh Lord, was it rubbing and stuff too?
It was just really low, like covered.
Okay. I'm putting it out here. Yeah, this is Sade Turnipseed, and hopefully that is better. Better. That was just being sassy. Just being sassy.
Today.
Sassy, yeah. Okay. Chris walked in. No, that ain't Chris. Never mind.
Okay.
Yeah, she already know.
Okay. That's why you're going to be staying at the Alluvia.
That's what I'm at the Alluvia. He going to hook me up at the Alluvia. He going to meet me at the... No, let me stop. Let me just stop. Hey, Chad.
Now we know how it's done.
Welcome back. I'm in the studio today with my friend, colleague. I mean, sister's my confidant. She my hero, actually. Right. My shero.
I saw her on it.
I mean, because again, not only is she the co-founder of the Heritage Village, you're also the executive director of the Pinetop Perkins Museum and the artistic director for the Reenactment Society, you know, that's doing all kinds of, again, wonderful portrayals of who we are as a people all over and throughout the Delta. But we want to focus on this village right now, and I want you to, if you could, tell us who Paul Wine Jones is and why he gets a shack, Denise LaSalle why she gets a shack, and Bill Abels and Pinetop. If you could just go through, and what would be peculiar to each of these that would distinguish it?
Paul Wine Jones is a young man that was born south of Belzoni. And he came to Belzoni with his family, like most people, traveling throughout the Delta. And his father was a great bluesman, and we had a lot of those in our communities. Our parents actually was the ones that taught us how to play guitar that's made out of a board that sometimes hung on the side of the wall. And his father was a great bluesman that's unsung in his own right. But most of all of his children learned to play the guitar. And Paul, it was no different. But Paul went on to go to record with Fat Possum, album, Puckle Up Buttercup, travel and tour with Bill Abels and others to Europe and other places in the world. He didn't receive the notoriety of many bluesmen, but what's unique about Paul Wine Jones is he's a native to Belzoni. He married there, raised his children there, and died in Belzoni, Mississippi, in Humphreys County. So that's what's so unique about Paul Wine Jones. He was a great bluesman and had his own style that was very unique and appreciated in Belzoni and Humphreys County.
And his family still lives there.
And his family, his wife, Bessie Jones, they still live there in his family.
That's going to be such an honor for them.
Absolutely.
So then the next shack, I'm
That we
struggling to say shack,
Shack.
but that's okay. All
We
right.
understand, sister. The next home, I believe, is Bill Abels. And most people know Bill. He's a wonderful young man. He's native to Belzoni in Humphreys County. And in his own rank, he has toured throughout the world. And he performed with some of the world great, Pinetop Perkins, of course. And
He
Paul
actually
and-
performed with Pinetop.
Pinetop Perkins.
That's nice.
And Paul and Bill was great friends. And they even toured together throughout the world in the various places that they went. So Bill Abels in his own right, he do many benefits and things to help a lot of the old bluesmen that never got the notoriety that they should have.
That's true.
Yes, so Bill Abels
And
is
he's-
a native of Belzoni.
And he's from Belzoni.
And he's from
too.
Belzoni. So Bill Abels, of course, he has earned his shack.
And
we-
he's doing his part in keeping
the blues alive.
blues alive,
Yes,
for
he
sure.
is. And then you got the Heritage Shack, which we will be looking at the people, the unsung heroes that have paved the way in so many different ways in our community. Those that was the door openers, and some today even the gatekeepers. But it's centered towards the cultural heritage of Belzoni and Humphreys County and the people that have made a difference and paid their dues. And then you will go to another person, a young lady that is known around the world, Denise LaSalle. We will have her shack. It's a conglomerate, and some say a consortium of various museums in the form of shotgun shacks that will recognize each one of them. And guess what? You would actually be able to stay in the Denise LaSalle shack. Her memorabilia would be there. You would be able to hear her music all night long if you want to.
Nice.
There will be things there that you won't be able to take away from the site.
Uh-huh.
But it's
better
all about Denise
glue
LaSalle.
'em down.
Oh, yes, we have to. Paul Wine Jones, all about him. Bill Abels, and of course, the Pinetop Perkins Shack. We will have one honoring Pinetop Perkins, and then a gentleman by the name of Reverend George W. Lee that we just on Friday dedicated the Memorial Highway. He will have a shack honoring himself, and the first one of the first civil rights museums that the Delta will have, honoring a beautiful woman, one of my heroes. Oh, I just love this woman. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired
Fannie
of
Lou
being sick and tired. Fannie Lou Hamer.
Fannie
So we thought that we could do no less than to honor what we call the mother of the movement of the civil rights for the Mississippi Delta, Fannie Lou Hamer.
So in all of these, the ones that you can't necessarily rent out and stay as part of a bed and breakfast concept, I assume, they will be set up like museums?
Absolutely.
And where you can come in and hear the music, hear the sights,
Absolutely.
see the sounds. Now, what distinguishes Paul's from Bill's, from the heritage? Will there be memorabilia from Paul?
We have already donated inside of the Pinetop Perkins Blues Museum. There's a section of it is set aside to Paul Wine Jones. and his shirts and a lot of his items, personal items, has been donated to us by his wife, Bessie Jones. Denise LaSalle has donated numerous awards to us there at the Heritage Center in the Blues Museum. And we also have memorabilia from Bill Abels, and the Heritage Shack will consist of collections from throughout Humphreys County and Belzoni from people that was part of the civil rights movement and other things that happened in Belzoni and Humphreys County.
So how has the community responded to this concept? Are they stepping up to the plate and supporting you in this effort?
Oh, Sade, we have, when you come to the museum, you can see the love, because everything in the museum has been donated to us by some of the wonderful people from Belzoni and Humphreys County. They have come to the platform. And when you see Heritage Village, when you see the museums, it's the love of the people and the stories. Luella Hazelwood, those foot soldiers that took up the movement after the death of Reverend George Lee, they came with their stories, audio and video. When you come to the Civil Rights Museum, you can hear the stories that made Belzoni and Humphreys County so unique from the various other movements throughout the Mississippi Delta and the people that the stories has been told about.
I'm proud of it. Like I said, I can't say it enough.
Thank you.
I'm proud of this project, and you know, the significance of shotgun houses are very important. You know, they have an African origin.
Yes.
And so for me too, I think that story, especially in the Heritage Shack, if I can be a part of helping to interpret, you know, some of this.
Absolutely, especially the Heritage Shack.
Especially the Heritage Shack.
It takes us back to Africa.
Yeah.
And that will be one of the roles that you would play to make sure we get the history.
You heard it here first. All right.
The history.
Because
right.
This is the research. I'm excited because this is the research that I'm currently doing right now.
And we're honored, Heritage Village, to be a part of that research.
So we're going to take another quick break and come back and hear more about not just the Heritage Village, but then what is also housed in the village is that wonderful museum that you're the executive director of, and the fact that, you know, all this takes place in the context of a cotton plantation, you know, and cotton fields. So the reenactment societies do some wonderful work in that setting. So come on back, we got a lot more to talk about.
Girl, you put this thing together. You
Put it down for now.
put it down for now.
Yeah. And we'll raise it later when we start talking. Welcome back. I'm with Helen Sims, and you know what I want to talk about before we get away from lose time, because this is the last segment.
Absolutely.
We got to do 3 parts, 3 shows whenever you come, because there's so much to talk about.
Absolutely.
But the George Lee Memorial Highway, let's put that in right now so we won't forget to talk about it. Tell us what's going on with that.
The George Lee Memorial Highway was a bill Bill 1139 that was presented to our legislators, and later in July of 2011 signed as a law by our Governor Haley Barbour at the time. And the George Lee Memorial Highway spans the stretch of Humphreys County. And on last Friday, the 15th, we officially did an unveiling celebrating and recognizing the work of Reverend George Lee and the official unveiling of the George Lee Memorial Highway, which, by the way, go right down in front of the new site of the Reverend George Lee Museum.
And the Heritage Village.
And Heritage Village.
The Pinetop
Perkins Blues
And
Museum.
again, to remind folks of who George Lee was, he was the first person to die in the civil rights struggle here.
To lose his life in the modern civil rights movement.
Right.
He was the first to die.
Right.
And unfortunately, in history, and we're going to rectify that, when you look at the civil rights timeline, you don't see his name as the first, but that's something that we're going to work on.
Right, in the modern, right. Okay, and with the Heritage Village, currently that's it houses the Pinetop Perkins Museum.
Absolutely.
Tell us who Pinetop is.
Pinetop was the oldest living. Of course, he's the sweetest, or was the sweetest gentleman that I ever knew. I mean, I just loved on him every chance I got. But he was the oldest living blues piano player, still performing, I say, in the world, because if he's the oldest living, then he was all of that. And we lost him last year, unfortunately, at the age of 97 years old, I believe. But it was an opportunity for us to get Pinetop while he was still living.
And you have a picture of him there.
In 2007, we found it necessary, and this the Reverend George Lee Museum of History and Heritage did research through their research department and discovered that Pinetop hadn't been home in over 20 years. We decided that we would honor Pinetop and bring him home and give him the Reverend George Lee Award of Achievement. And Pinetop received this award, and this picture here shows that Pinetop and myself was in Belzoni in 2007, and I had an opportunity to love on the old man personally and meet him for the first time in person.
Yay. You know, and I remember the moment that he came for the opening of his museum in Belzoni, and he honored us all by tinkering on the piano.
Absolutely.
And we had it on video.
We have it on video.
And that's something that is so highly treasured.
And his chair, of course. We have it there now in front of the piano that he sat in while he was there visiting us. And it was an honor to be able to move that project forward that fast, just to allow him to see how we wanted to honor him and love on him. And we was able to do that.
Yeah, and that is so
important.
I mean, I'm sure it was one of the highlights of his life to see at the end of his life to be honored in such a way. Everybody ain't able to get a museum named in their honor, and to have him be there and for the opening reception, it was truly a special moment, and I'm happy again, my shero, to have been able to
be
pull it off,
and
yeah, for me to be a part of it.
And you know, it was the pre-opening, and you worked so hard to help us to get that together. Thank you.
I know, not as hard as you did, sister.
Oh, but we appreciate the work.
I do some interior decorating.
Oh, we love it.
But you pulled that together, and that
it was so necessary, Sade, for us to do that. Even though the official opening of the museum would be like this year, it officially opened for tourists. Officially, July the 26th is our official opening day, and we'll start our civil rights tour there at the museum site. But it's the Cultural Heritage Center, and I'm losing my voice, but that's just how choked up I am about this wonderful man.
You know, and just catch your breath for a moment, because what I want you to now reflect on, if you could, as it relates to tourism and cultural heritage, and again, the work that you're involved with is beyond the historical building of structures and beyond the documentation and the interpretation, but it's the reenactments. I mean, you are doing a phenomenal job. And I'm hoping you can kind of give folks a little sample, if you would. You know.
Well, honey, you know I play that there Mother of the Blues there. You know I have to let y'all know from which you come, my chillin', so we'll know where we're headed. So the old Mother of the Blues, Fannie Lou, have to stand up sometime and tell them about themselves and let them know this thing was all about hard times and struggle and pain. But Fannie Lou said the rest of them made it. We gonna make it too, my chillin'.
Yeah. Trust me. Trust me. It's with standing ovations
Thank
that
you.
you are received with the
Fannie Lou. And
Fannie
not the
Lou,
Fannie
the
Lou of
spirit
the
of
civil
Fannie.
rights movement, but the Fannie Lou from the cotton field. There's a story in 1865 of a Fannie Lou, and I took on that character for the reenactments of the cotton field, and Fannie Lou Hamer for our powerful movement with who we are as a people in the 21st century.
You have presented at graduation ceremonies. You have presented before our congressmen during Black History Month. You
Absolutely.
presenting before teachers so that they can extract from that great historical lessons
Absolutely.
about the culture here in the Delta, about the messages that need to be carried forward.
Absolutely.
You know, and what a wonderful and brilliant concept in a way to educate and inform. And teachers can call on you, is that right?
Absolutely.
To have you come and visit their schools.
Their schools and their churches.
You know,
and
be a part of,
Be a part of it.
Yeah.
We were in Vicksburg at the the historical Vicksburg Hotel, and we was able to add a skit of the story of the slaves in the Civil War. And Lula, the character that I played, the review that we received was that we move race relations forward 500 years, just putting our stories into the Civil War.
Love it.
So the Reenactment Society is responsible. The stories need to be told in a way that we can embrace, learn, and move forward.
How can people contact you, Helen Sims?
If you would like to contact Helen Sims, you can do it by way of the World Wide Web. You can email me.
Google, huh?
Google, yes. Helen Sims at live.com. You can always get in touch with me through
That's
that.
L-I-V-E.
L-I-V-E live.com, or just call me at the Pinetop Perkins Blues Museum at 662-247-2739.
Say it again.
662-247-2739.
And your email address is?
Helen Sims at live.com.
At live.com. And again, just Google the sister, and you're going to get all kinds of pop-ups because she got it going on like that.
Thank you.
So I want to thank you all for joining us this week, and I will see you next week here on Delta.
Thank you.
Thank you.